welcome into the live stream here from McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal. That's Tyler.
What it is.
How are you? It's been a week.
It's been a week, man.
I know. Did you miss me?
I did. Did you miss me?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I got a little siesta.
Yeah, that's good.
Nothing like the water to get your mind right.
Yeah, for me, that's going to have to be the water in the backyard this year. It's been a year. It's been a year.
Been a year.
Yeah. This was that year that everything that, from an expense standpoint, that could kind of go wrong, did it once. And then, it's bad when you get the call from the accountant in December going, so I got good news and bad news. I said, okay,
Are you the kind that asks for the bad news first?
No, in this case, I didn't even get a chance. She goes, well, I'll start with the good.
That usually means the bad's really bad.
Yeah. And it was. She said, the good is you did better this year than you did last year. And I said, well, that's good. That's good. We worked hard, tried to add some things, blah, blah, blah. She goes, yeah, the bad news, is there anything left that you could write off? And I'm like, oh, my God, how bad is it? And it's pretty bad. So I immediately said, so, that beach vacation we were talking about? Yeah, we're not doing that. That's not happening. That's out.
Oh,
so our beach is the backyard beach.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I've sat here. I've messed this thing up so bad on my computer. It's ridiculous.
What'd you mess up?
Something with the view. See if there it goes. So I can see the chat. I hit a button or something.
Oh,
and
gotcha. I knew you watched The View each morning. I didn't know if that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. It was great today.
You enjoy Behar.
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't booked me as a guest yet.
I am stunned. I'm stunned. All right.
You ready to rock and roll?
We're ready to get rolling. Thanks for everybody being in the stream. Please hit the like button, by the way. Hit the subscribe button. We're up over 6,000. If you are listening on like Spotify or whatnot, just hit I think it's follow. But subscribe doesn't cost you anything. So
it's free.
It's free. So hit the but
I like when you see like the view numbers are like through the roof, and then it's your subscribers are about half of what the view is.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, appreciate you guys. No, but hit the subscribe like button, please. We'll get rolling, man.
I always love the one where they say, and I get it, or they don't understand. They're like, so do you have as many subscribers to Rebel Grove as you do listeners on MPW? And I'm like, no, listen, if I did, this conversation would be occurring and you'd be hearing waves in the background.
Yeah. It'd be good.
It'd be all the time.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome into episode 80 of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. That's a good one. I'm Neal McCready. That is Tyler Siskey here on this Thursday afternoon. It is June the 1st. This is June. May is over.
It is June 1st. You know what today is, by the way? I need to start this episode. Today is my lovely wife, Erin's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to Erin.
So she's really excited. She's 25 today.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going with. She's 25.
Not 29, but 25.
Well, I don't know. What do I need to say now? 29?
I think 29.
29. She's 29 today.
Yeah.
29 today.
Which makes you a criminal, by the way.
Which part?
Well, I mean, if she's truly 29, your oldest is 16.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Do the math.
She's 34 today. How about that?
It's better.
She's 34 today. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Somebody's probably listening going,
well, there's no telling.
They're probably like, is this guy serious? Reminded me, dude, funny story, since it's May or June now, be a good story to tell since it's her birthday. Her birthday was in 2012, was one of the 3 worst days as a husband I've ever had. So it was our first year here at Ole Miss, and it was like when camp, we had a huge one-day camp. It was our first big camp when we got here with Hugh, and we didn't have an army of people back then. It was like me and one other guy, and so we're trying to get, John Miller was helping us, organize stuff on camp. We had prospects on camp, the whole deal. It's the day we got Evan Ingram's commitment, by the way. So that part was good.
Turned out to be a good player.
He ended up being pretty good. So, dude, I mean, chaos, right? You're trying to get everything organized. We had 300 and something kids on campus with a 2-man crew, really 2.5. And Miller helping us out with logistics and things and food and stuff like that. And dude, I just grinded, man. I just put my head down and worked. And about 9:30, everything kind of settled down. Kids got out of there. And like I do at the end of every day, you know, I go, she's probably getting ready to go to bed. I haven't talked to her today. Let me call her. And so we talk about, you know, whatever. I was like, "What'd you do today?" She's like, "Oh, I went out to dinner with
You did.
Stacy Batoon and
Right.
Jill Freeze, and went out with the coaches' wives who went to go eat dinner because those were 2 good friends, and Allison Nix and this." I said, "Oh, that's fun." And, you know, we talk about something else, and she goes, "Anything else that you need to tell me?" And it immediately when she says that, I'm like, "What in the hell did I not tell her?" And I'm like, "I'm not going out of town." I'm starting to go through all the stuff that maybe she picked up from the other coaches' wives. Like, was there something I was supposed to communicate with her? I said, "No, I think I'm good." And she goes, "Happy birthday to me."
Oh,
dude, bad day.
Bad day.
I'm still hearing about that. And that was 11 years ago today. So I'm still hearing about that one.
Are you a birthday person?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
See, I'm not either.
But because my birthday's always been in the middle of football season. So I never had I'm not celebrate my birthday kind of guy. All that stuff. Like some people whose birthday, I think spring birthdays are more celebrated. Maybe early when there's nothing else going on. My birthday always has stuff going on.
Your birthday's October or something?
November 13th.
November 13th. Yeah, I've never been a big like personal birthday person. So, but I have to remind myself, especially with the girls in my life.
Yeah.
Nope. Birthdays are big deals.
Birthdays are big deals.
Now,
my wife's not my wife, talking about hitting the lottery now. She doesn't like presents and all that stuff. So, but I still, do something.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go out.
You don't want to forget it.
You don't forget it though. It's more, it's not what you do. It's just don't forget it.
Yeah.
But that one, so that was a bad day. My response to how, when I found out she was pregnant with Brock, that was a bad day. Have I told you that one?
No.
Have I told that on here?
I don't think so.
Jackson was, dude, he couldn't have been 3 months old. I mean, it was about 3 months old. And I was coaching at St. Paul's. And so this is in the middle of, it was, no, he's a little older now. Whatever it was, she was working at the orthopedic group. So she had to go to work at like the crack of dawn. And she was up getting dressed for work. And I'd, been up all night, tired. And Jackson's in the bassinet just crying. First kid, just in my ear. I can't sleep. She flicks the lights on. I'm not a morning person. And she comes in, she goes, I'm laying with my eyes closed, flat on my back. And she goes, "I'm pregnant." And dude, I raised up off that bed like the Undertaker. I mean, just straight up and looked at her. I said, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." And then she was like, she started, crying. That was bad. And then, so that was bad day number 2.
That was bad.
That didn't go over well.
No, I can see that.
And then
that was not the reaction she was looking for.
And then when I left, I took a coaching job in the middle of the night.
We've heard that one. Yeah,
that was day 1. So I've look, we've been together like 10,000 days. I've had 3 bad days. I'm shooting about 99.99%.
That's good. That's solid.
I'm doing good.
That is solid. We're brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, and zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more.
I'm telling people, if they haven't done the peach nectarine yet on the Rain Storm, you're missing out on life. I don't care where you have to buy it. I don't know if your local grocery store or gas station has it or you got to order on Amazon.
Yeah.
This changed your life right here. It's good stuff. It is number 1 ahead of Red Dragon for me.
To me,
Red Dragon's 2?
To me, putting something ahead of Red Dragon is kind of sacrilegious.
Red Dragon's 2, but this is number 1. Did you do anything for Memorial Day?
Not really. Laura went to Nashville to meet Campbell. They were finding a place to live with her friends, her new roommates, and moms and stuff. And so it was just me and Carson. So it was pretty chill. we got the new liner in the pool finally. And so I had to fill up with water, and then I had to go get the salt. The water's so cold that the salt doesn't dissolve. So
Oh.
you're putting the salt in like one bag at a time and then brushing and brushing and brushing and making it dissolve. Because you don't want it to, if the salt just sits on the liner, it'll
Eat through it, right?
Well, it'll fade it.
Gotcha.
And don't want that.
It won't eat through it?
I mean, I guess it conceivably could, but, it would eventually dissolve.
Not a pool guy.
Yeah. So I was doing all that.
Yeah.
And anyway, did that on Saturday pretty much all day. And then we watched, Carson and I watched Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals Saturday night, which was an amazing basketball game. And
Great
then,
finish.
Can't remember what we did on Sunday. Oh, Friday night we watched Air.
Oh, good. I watched on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I had already seen it, but I wanted him to see it. And he was like, I'm not going to watch that. I'm like, I'm telling you, you'll really like it.
Oh, it's good.
And for me, Air was like really nostalgic.
Yeah.
Not just because of Jordan, but because of like all the stuff they showed, like the commercials, the music,
the cars.
Well, even the posters like Moses Malone and Bobby Jones and the old SI covers and Rubik's Cube and the cars and the way houses looked. They just did an amazing job with it.
That was good. I enjoy. I watched that, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I wrote this down, not on the sheet, but I had to tell you something funny. It's like, dude, so we went to the lake and Mom and Dad were there. I gained like 5 pounds over a couple of days. We avoided major catastrophe, and that's about fate. So if the good Lord was looking out for us, like major catastrophe. So Dad has this thing. Dad goes, he loves it. He goes to buy the, if we go to the lake for any kind of holiday, whether it's Memorial Day, 4th of July, or whatever, he goes and does the fireworks. And he doesn't get the little fireworks. I mean, we're putting on an amateur display of, fireworks. So mortars, the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we go by the lake. We got a golf cart that has like a dump bed in it, that you can work out of it, like a small, instead of having a bat seat, has one of those. Well, for years, we got these 5-gallon buckets, and we'll put the mortars in these the used mortars up in these 5-gallon buckets, and then we'll carry them back up the hill or whatever to the house and dispose of them the next day or whatever. So this is the first year we let the boys kind of start lighting the fireworks and learning, doing those kind of things, and because they're not safe. These kind are not safe at all because they'll quick shoot you every once in a while. And we go up. I mean, we're done shooting fireworks 35, 45 minutes. And I'm inside, we're watching TV, and Aaron's already gone to bed, and, my mom's gone to bed, and my dad's gone to bed. It's like me and like Brock and maybe Jackson, I think, upstairs. And we get a knock on the door. And one of our neighbors had come down to watch the fireworks and had forgot something and came back to the area to look for something. Dude, one of those mortars was still hot, catches fire, and starts burning all the buckets, plastic buckets, in the back of that deal.
Oh, wow.
Next to a cardboard box full of fireworks.
That's not good.
Next to my car.
That's not good.
I'm talking about me to you, closer to me to you to my car. And he's like, your golf cart's on fire. And so, dude, I come running. I knew exactly when he said that. I knew exactly what it was. And sure enough, those buckets were on fire in the back of the deal. Like an idiot, Brock goes to get water. I just run because I'm afraid it's going to hit those fireworks. And dude, I grabbed those buckets and just threw them out of the back of the deal. But another 2 minutes and we'd had a problem.
You had some explosions.
Yeah. Because if the golf cart burns down, it's going to burn my car as well. I mean, it's that close.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we avoided catastrophe there. That could have been bad. So
Aaron might would have criticized
my judgment.
Your judgment on that one.
All right, let's get on the show here.
All right, let's do it.
So obviously the portal numbers that are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks kids are still getting matriculated. But good rule of thumb is if classes have pretty much started everywhere, summer classes. If somebody's still in the portal, it's not a good thing. You're probably not coming out. Very small chance unless you're a grad transfer that adds late or whatever it is. But the kids that are still in the portal, probably not going to work out well for them. So I will get some more portal numbers as there's no use to even getting numbers right now because they haven't matriculated the kids that have enrolled this week and things like that. So they're very inaccurate right now. But there's going to be, I don't know, there's probably going to end up being 200 to 300 kids left in the portal. What's the look? What'd you get? Something in the chat?
Someone in the chat said Biden fell, and I just pulled it up and saw it. Wow.
He fell.
He
I'm sure I'll see it later. I'm sure it'll be all over the national news.
Yo, it probably won't make the national news.
Oh, if I turn on Fox News, will it be the
Fox News will have it on a loop. Fox News will be talking about today in the weather. You'll just see Biden falling.
You know what the best part is, though?
CNN, meanwhile, will say the president is perfectly fine today.
I was telling somebody this today. This is how bad news has gotten. I'm sorry. We'll get off this in a second. I've tried not to watch it at all. I used to be my routine in the mornings. I've tried to move on to other things.
Yeah. I've completely avoided it.
I'm going to blame it on my wife, but it was on our bedroom TV the other morning. Everybody's getting up, getting the kids going. And you know how she likes watching Today's Show because she likes Savannah Guthrie. My wife does.
Okay.
And you know how they're going to commercial break and they'll come back. When we come back, and they'll talk about the story.
Sure,
right?
the tease what's coming next.
What's coming up.
Uh-huh, sure.
So I had to rewind it and watch it. It was so funny because even the news people have gotten come on, guys. It was coming back. We have such and such coming on to talk to us about artificial intelligence. He says that it's going to cause the extinction of the human race. And everybody just went come on, guys.
Yeah, come on.
And then Al Roker, who's actually funny, he goes, enjoy your Cheerios, smile and have a great day. I mean, now it's gotten to that point. Now it's no longer it's dangerous for you. Now it's going to cause the extinction of the human race. So I thought that was funny. Anyway.
All right, so this DeAndre Hopkins, who's not really been all that effective for the last couple of years.
Still good.
Why is he not getting more play from good teams? Because it sounds like it's Houston, Detroit, Chicago.
For whatever reason, he wants out of Arizona. And, he was reportedly on the trading block, and he was.
Mm-hmm.
That was speculation earlier. Now that last week or so, I guess he got released, I think, after we did our show last time, like that day or the day after. But he was on the trading block, but he wasn't getting anybody to bite on the trade because when you trade for somebody, all right, you have to pick up their contract, whatever their current contract is. And where they were with the Arizona contract, it was too much of a financial burden for any team to take on.
Right.
So that's why he couldn't get traded. Not that anybody wouldn't take him. It's just the financial burden. So instead, I mean, this was probably a bigger tell of anything. They just cut him. They took the cap hit. So you're losing cap money and him not on your team. That says more to me than...
Yeah, to me, that says a lot.
I mean...
That tells me that either they think that he's just not worth the trouble or he's lost a step.
Or the relationship is beyond repair.
Right.
And maybe you got a new coach, you got new front office, the whole thing, same owner. But I've always said I don't want to coach somebody that doesn't want to be there. And maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But it said a lot to me when you're going to take that kind of cap hit and just cut him. And we're not talking about a shitty player. I still think he is the second best wide receiver in the NFL. Maybe the third.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking Adams.
Forget
AJ probably.
Forget the money for a minute. That if you're right, that's a difference maker on a team that's a piece away.
He's wide receiver one. I would say damn near on any team that he goes to, minus probably two teams. Probably won't be wide receiver one in Philadelphia, but he'd be wide receiver. Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He may be. I mean, he's that good, dude. I mean, he's legit. I mean, it's not like this guy sucks or anything. I mean, he's legit, but he kind of had a weird deal of the Texans getting out of there. Now he's got a weird deal now. I bet he doesn't get as much with whoever picks him up, and basically he's a free agent, but it's a little bit more manageable, and they can do some things cap wise and hide him to get him out of there. So I think the Bills, Browns, who else did I see? Bills, Browns, Panthers, somebody else.
There was some Lions talk.
I didn't see. I mean, I haven't. Yeah, we'll see. All right. So this had me cracking up. This got me thinking too the other day. So our good friend Cole Kublik sent a tweet out where he said, "Can't wait to come back to the SIP."
Yeah.
Because Ole Miss released their time schedule, and I noticed the Tulane game that's at Tulane is at 2:30 p.m.
Yes.
Week number 2.
Now, I don't know anything about their stadium. It's 30,000 seats.
Roughly, yeah, somewhere in there.
Is it turf?
It is turf. That's what made me think of this. So what spawned this was I was listening to your show this morning, and I had to tell this because it's unbelievable. So Freeze's first year at Arkansas State when he's the OC, second game, we play ULL. That's University of Louisiana at Lafayette, or now it's the University of Louisiana. Depends on who you want to talk to, but ULL. At ULL I went back and looked the date up. It was September the 11th, 2010. The hottest game, check that, the hottest I've ever been in my life. To the point to where it was in the mid-90s, I think, temperature-wise. But that turf, the field temperature was 100. I think it was like between 155 and 160 something.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and
that'll melt your shoes.
Well, it did. So we travel 10 receivers. Okay, I knew we were in trouble when we go out for pregame. And we come back up for pregame, and it looked, our training room that's on the road, you got a little room, it looked like the end of a game. We had multiple people. I coached receivers. I had one player that had to go in to get an IV after pregame. All right. We travel 10 receivers. So we go, and when I say it was hot, it's the only game I've ever coached. I'm embarrassed to say this, but it did happen. I cramped up as a coach. My legs, I went almost into a full body cramp in the fourth quarter. My shoes melted. I had blisters on my feet, on the bottoms of my feet from standing.
Yeah.
We had traveled 10. I finished the game with 2 receivers. I lost 8 of my 10 receivers during the course of the game.
To dehydration and stuff like that.
Heat exhaustion, whatever.
Yeah.
So I had one of my players, and he was my best player. Now, look, you can say whatever you want to about football players being in shape. There is no other person on a football team more in running shape than a wide receiver.
Of course, because all they do in practice is run.
Yeah.
run.
And
the
way because the way I treated practice, and I've always done as a coach, is if you run good enough in practice, we don't have to run after practice.
Right.
And so we finish drills, and you catch routes on air, we're going to run, and we get mileage in. So those guys are especially in a tempo offense. I mean, they're trained. They're in shape.
Yeah, sure.
My best player was Taylor Stockermer.
But look, the Heat, I'm not to interrupt your story.
Yeah.
The Heat has nothing to do with being in shape.
No.
That's the part that people don't. Frankly, sometimes the people who are in super shape, who don't have a lot of fat to work with, the Heat gets them before it gets normal people.
Right. But you're like, I guess this is what I was getting at, is how much you run, the conditions.
Yeah.
We pre-prepped. I mean, we IV'd before the game.
Yeah.
We very cautious on, the amount of nutrition and things that go into prepping a college football player's body for Saturday, people have no idea.
Sure. It's like when you're running a marathon, your nutrition stuff starts weeks in advance. Sure.
It's insane. It's not like, hey, take a salt tablet. It ain't none of that. It's real stuff.
Yeah.
And so I come back up. Well, one of my best players in there getting IV. I've had him at this point for like 3 years. He's never had a problem in his life. And I'm going, this guy's played a lot of football for me.
And you're like, what's up?
And we've played in heat.
Sure.
We're from Arkansas. It's not like it was cold during August, right?
Right.
And I'm sitting here going, what is going on? So we come out of the locker room, whatever, get ready for the game. We kick it off. We go 3 and out the first drive, 3 plays. I think he ran one route that was like 6 yards. The other two were run plays. Dude, I come on the sideline and he's like, Coach, and he's I had a good relationship with my kids. They could talk to me. He's like, Coach, I'm done. So what the F you mean you're done?
We're just getting started.
He's like, Coach, I can't function. I'm like, what's going on? And dude, we lose him. Hell, he had to go to the hospital. And to the point, he was in the hospital the next week with like kidney stuff, I mean, like it was bad.
Yeah.
So as the game goes on, my guys are dropping like flies. I ended up with 2 wide receivers at the end of the game. I would basically play them, and it was the ones when you're getting down to receiver number 9 and 10. Anthony Robinson was a walk-on wide receiver. We ended up putting him on scholarship, but I had a walk-on at the time and my worst scholarship player. I hope you're not listening, but Jonathan White, and he was actually a really good player. Had hamstring injuries. He just couldn't function because he was coming off a hamstring injury. I bet he couldn't crack 5 flat on 40 that day. But dude, it was those 2 guys. We were in 12 personnel, so I had an inside receiver, a slot receiver, having to tell him what to do on outside receiver because we only had 2 receivers left to play a game, and we damn near came back and almost won the game. And Freeze has no mercy. He's going tempo every snap. I'm like, I said, we're killing these kids. But when I say it was bad, my shoes melted. I cramped. At ULL, they have the student section and the visiting and their band, right behind the bench.
Yeah.
They sent the band home halfway through the second quarter. That's how bad it was.
See, all right. I get it. TV, right?
They changed the rule after that.
But they're going to play that game at 2:30 in the afternoon on September the 9th in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a Louisiana boy. And maybe Mother Nature will provide a reprieve. Who knows? But if you're betting on it, you're betting it's in the 90s and the humidity is out of sight that day. Like 2:30 in the afternoon. What the hell are you thinking? I get it's TV. But
well, the Sun Belt made a rule after that game because you could not play another conference game in September, I think, before 6:30 or whatever the night window was. Now, out of conference, you could.
Yeah.
But in conference, you could not play because out of conference, when it's like I don't know if the rules have changed, but when it's ESPN3 and ESPN Plus or whatever they call it now, you can set your own time for those games unless it's a conference game. So they changed it, but like, dude, it's an advantage for them. I mean, I would do the same thing if I was coaching at Tulane and I had control of the game time. Now, I don't know if they did it's an ESPN game, right?
Yeah, it's ESPN2, I think.
I don't think they had control of it.
No, they didn't.
But let me tell you what, you better start IVing now because I'm gonna tell you, you couldn't pay me to go watch that game. You couldn't pay me to go watch that game.
No, I'm with you completely. It's going to be so hot.
There will be fans that it's going to be a hot ticket to try to get, no pun intended. People will drop out in the stadium.
Oh, there's no question about it because it's New Orleans. You can have people that went out drinking the night before.
Oh,
they didn't properly hydrate, and they're going to wake up in New Orleans. Listen, I love New Orleans.
They better pack their game changer patches.
Well, they're going to need all the game changer patches they can handle. But
you like that?
Yeah, I did. That was good. They're going to have to. They're going to go have mimosas and Bloody Marys and stuff like that at 9:30 in the morning. They're going to have a couple. They're going to have a couple of tall ones with lunch before they head out to the ballpark, and it's going to hit them,
dude,
like a sack of rocks, man.
I
said on the Oxford Exxon podcast, I feel bad for the EMS people that are there because they are going to be busy.
You better bring an extra supply of IV bags too. If you're my man Pat Jernigan, make sure you bring some extra IV bags.
Oh, you'll be dripping 2/3 of the roster.
You pre-IV them now, like who has heat problems. Like
right.
Heat problems. Somebody if a doctor can correct me, but pretty much I wouldn't say it's hereditary, but who your heat problem guys are that have had it in the past. Anytime a guy's a heat problem that has had problems, usually at the end of fall camp or whatever it is in the practices, those guys get identified and they do a great job pre-IVing them and taking special care of them ahead of time to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, when I've had heat guys playing receiver that we would IV them at the hotel before we left, then they would get to the stadium, do what they need to do, and then drink their Gatorades and do all that stuff. And then they would IV them like, who was it? I want to start to say it was Carlos McCants, but I can't remember. I had one player that would leave long as if we punted or changed possessions inside 2 minutes, he would go in. I would send him in early if we wasn't going to get the ball back or whatever,
Right.
to go ahead and get IV'd. Or if we had a lead, I knew, hey, I can get without him, send him in early. But, yeah, it's going to be get you some of that.
A word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. It can be tough to train your brain to stay in problem-solving mode when faced with a challenge in life. But when you learn how to find your own solutions, there's no better feeling. A therapist can help you become a better problem solver, making it easier to accomplish your goals, no matter how big or small. I've used therapy in my life as a way to kind of clear negative thoughts, mentally relax a little, compartmentalize. For me, it was a life changer. It increased my happiness. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable. It's entirely online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey and switch therapist anytime. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/MPW today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/MPW.
I wanted, because we talk how bad it is all the time. The NIL, there is a good side to NIL. And I think we saw it. I don't know how much of it's really affecting football, but other sports it is. Zach Edey from Purdue is coming back for his last year. The center from Purdue, the 7-footer.
Yeah.
Was he National Player of the Year?
Yes.
And so I guess he was projected as a second-round pick. I looked it up. It's what they were projecting him.
Yeah, his game
That's what they were.
does not translate particularly well to the modern NBA. The NBA doesn't really play a lot of back-to-the-basket centers.
Right. Not anymore, for sure.
Yeah.
But he's coming back, and that's NIL's good use. You know, in years past, I think he would have gone ahead and gone and got whatever he was going to get the money.
Yeah.
But now he can get not all the money he would get, but some of the money in case it doesn't work out.
I think he might make more money in coming off that year at
Yeah,
Purdue.
the NBA dudes get paid, though.
I don't know that he makes an NBA roster. I mean, he's got.
You think it's that bad?
Yeah, well, it's not bad. It's just he doesn't. You look at the modern NBA game; they play bigs off the floor so fast. It's more positionless than ever before. I mean, even the All-Star teams now, it's just take 5 players. They don't do the guard, center, forward the way they did forever.
Yeah.
You know, it's because a lot of teams don't really play a center.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
No, they don't.
Nikola Jokic is a center,
Not really.
But
a big 3.
but not really. Right. I mean, 30 years ago, people would have taken Kevin Durant and made him a center.
Yeah.
Now he's basically a 2-guard.
I think you're going to see some of it in football eventually. I think like a Bo Nix probably with him, quarterbacks that are not going to be a top guy. If they see a lighter class coming in the next year or whatever, you can pay him and keep him around a little bit. So that's good. All right. Our good friend Deion Sanders was getting really hammered on social media and articles and certain teams about comments that he made. And I'm going to take Deion's side on this one.
See, I didn't see this. What happened?
He was just saying, here's what happened. And as soon as I tell you where he was talking, you're going to go. You're going to know exactly where I'm going with this. He was talking at like a booster, not a booster function, but with a group of boosters, like at a, what do we call them at Ole Miss? Like Rebel Road Trips or whatever, that you go out, your basketball and your football coach, they get on a bus and they go tour or whatever, alumni groups. How about that? So he's talking to that group and he's saying like, basically, hey, we're going to be better not count us as an L and all this, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what you say to your fans.
Of course.
And people are just running with it, man. Oh, he's saying that they're going to be – no, guys, and this is why I'm going to take Deion's side on this. It got Sark in trouble at USC. It should be a strict no cell phone policy when you speak to booster and alumni functions. It should, and when people record you, because you're going to say stuff to fire up the base and get them all, to charge the crowd. You're not sitting there and saying it. It's a different environment, and you get quoted. And he wasn't doing a media opportunity. Now, I guess with Deion, he has to understand that, but he doesn't really care. But it's not. I don't like when media and people run with articles and quotes off something he's talking to an alumni base trying to fire up his fans. I'm going to take his side on this of what he said. I take it for a grain of salt because every coach in America does it.
This is the danger of clickbait journalism. I hate it. One of the things that I love about Rivals is that our analytics are not based off clicks.
Right. I don't know, man.
I love it.
I just it.
So he says something at an alumni meeting that, come on, you have to take that stuff with a grain of salt.
He was basically saying,
and then someone takes it and turns it into something because they want to get headlines and they want to get clicks.
We're going to play, we're going to play, it's not, they're going to know when they show up to play us, or, just something you say to boosters and fans to get them fired up. It's not, I don't know. I just, that really, it was very clickbaity and it bothered me a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to take his side on that. They need a strict no cell phone policy in that. All right. SEC meetings. Have you been following these at all?
I have followed them a decent amount. I went into the week with the realization that they were going to do 8 games instead of 9, and I was bewildered by it. I still am, sort of. I think it's more about – I still am not sure that anyone is properly reporting the story, because I think what's happened is, to this point, TV is saying, nah, we're not adding – we're not going to pay more for a 9th game. We want a 9th game, but we're not going to pay more for it. We're going to pay for what we're going to pay, and that's it. And so the SEC is going, okay, well then we'll play hardball with you. We'll go 8 games. And then everyone's doing this thing about the damn playoff and all of that stuff. And I keep waiting for someone to go, hey, you know what? What about the fans? What about the fans?
Well, they're going to get left.
And I hate that I'm the guy that's that, because I don't have that reputation. I have a reputation of you don't care what the fans think. I actually think about this from a fan's perspective. You're asking the fans to pay more money in a time of great inflation. Let no one kid you that it's not inflated. I mean, go to the grocery store. Go to the grocery store.
No doubt.
And when you finish your trip to the grocery store, try to tell yourself that inflation ain't so bad.
Why did my $200 trip to the grocery store turn into a $400 trip to the grocery store?
Absolutely. I mean, Laura went to the grocery store on Sunday morning, came back, it was $430.
Dude, I spent $434.
Okay, well, there you go. That same trip to the grocery store a year ago,
$260.
Yeah, and a year before that, well, that's inflation. That's major inflation. So that inflation affects everything else too: gas, hotels, restaurants, all that stuff. You're asking people to make these trips 5, 6, 7 times a year to Auburn, to Tuscaloosa, to Athens, to Oxford, to Fayetteville, to Columbia, whatever. You don't have to buy, whatever. And stay in hotels and go to the games and buy tickets. Oh yeah, and contribute to the NIL fund because we got to pay the players. and then hey, we're gonna play Kent State. We're gonna play Central Michigan. We're gonna play Ball State. We're going to play ULM. We're going to play Central Arkansas. We're going to play Mercer. We're going to play these teams. I mean, at some point, if I'm a fan, I'm like, no. I mean, no. My answer is just no. I don't want to that bad. Now, there are a lot of fans out there that love it so much. Thank God. I mean, I'm thankful for you. That love it so much, it's like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to Oxford. I'm going to go to Auburn. I'm going to go to wherever because I just love it. It's my favorite place on earth. All my friends are going to be there. I'm going to tailgate in the Grove or the Caboose in Columbia, whatever.
Right.
I'm going to go do all that, my stuff, and I'm going to go watch my team. I'm going to go watch the Rebels, the Tigers, the Gamecocks, the whoever. I'm going to watch them, and I don't care who we play. I'm cheering for them, and quite frankly, if I know we're going to win a game, I'm going to go in with a better mood because I know there's a 0 chance I'm coming out of the stadium pissed off. But for every one of those people, I think there's a person that goes, nah, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not going up to that Mercer game 1:00 in the afternoon on September the 2nd.
Hadn't that been going on for a while though?
It has, but now the prices are higher, and then you're being asked out loud to pay for the players.
That's true.
That's a new thing.
That's true. All right. So here was my thing is like I was telling you before we started, these SEC meetings, it was almost like they had a script of questions to talk about and they went right down the script with every coach. I listened to every coach answer the same exact questions in their 15-minute interview.
Well, and I was telling you, I know how this works.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That was interesting.
This is, hey, we're sending you down here to write about this. So write about the schedule, write about NIL, write about expansion, write about whatever. And so those coaches come into that room and everybody's kind of like, okay, well, Drinkwitz didn't say anything. Let's see if Kirby does.
Right.
And then maybe Kirby says something. And then it's like, okay, well, Jimbo's coming in. Hey, Jimbo, Kirby said this. What do you think about this? And then, so that's how you build your story.
Gotcha. So the scheduling part, like, first of all, the fans need to know this because apparently the media doesn't. Coaches don't have shit to do with scheduling. Like, Nick Saban, as much influence as he has, is not going to change one person's opinion that actually has a vote on what the schedule should be. If it should be an 8-game or 9-game schedule.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
I'm talking about not the first iota of influence on if it's going to be an 8-game or a 9-game. This is going to come down to the presidents and Greg Sankey, period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. But the coaches have opinions and they express them. And so if you're in the media, you ask about it.
Right. They'll give you their opinion, but at the end of the day, like, I think it's going to stay 8, but that's just my opinion. But
it's very clearly going to stay 8.
But here's the deal: is this is all about it's all about money, right? The only reason that it's a decision whether to go 8 games or 9 games is, okay, do we get more money from ESPN deal if we play 9 conference games, or do we get more money by getting an additional team into the playoff? What's that revenue offset? And I guarantee you, whichever one gets the most money, and if there is a big difference, they'll switch the schedule accordingly. They don't care about, and this is exactly what you're saying. They don't care about the fan. They don't. If this was about the fans, this would have been decided. This was an easy decision. We're playing 2 and 7, home and home, 9-game conference schedule. If it's about the fans, because if it was about the fans, and the SEC football fans, best fans in the world, love them, most passionate fan base of any conference. But by doing that, you get home and home with every team every 4 years. Every 4 years, you're getting a home and home with every single team in the league. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
It's great.
I mean, I've lived here, and for people that listen that are not familiar with Oxford, this is a really cool town on game day. And when you have, I remember when our first year when Texas came in, just the zoo that it creates with all the Texas people coming in because they want to visit Oxford and the Grove. And
Texas A&M's first trip a year later.
Yeah. Anytime you're any fan base that goes to these, I remember when we were at Alabama, we go to Texas A&M, big deal. I mean, that's where Bear Bryant used to coach. We're going to, whatever it is, every fan base has a place that's cool. And and so you don't think that Georgia's first trip to Norman won't take a lot of Georgia people out there?
Sure. Oh, God,
same thing when they went to Notre Dame, whatever, right?
Of course.
So if it's about the fan, that's an easy decision. So by not making it an easy decision tells you they don't give a shit about the fans. It's about money.
Right.
And so whichever one pays off, is it the TV deal is going to pay us off or the college football playoff? Now, if they're thinking the college football playoff, they need to stay at 8 teams, in my opinion. And Sam Pittman, I watched his interview. I did not think of it this way, but he is 100% right. Any way you want to look at it, if you go to 9 teams,
9 games,
you're adding 8 losses to your league.
Yeah,
that you can't get out of.
Right.
As opposed to playing another non-conference game. He said, hey, not saying we're all going to go undefeated in non-conference,
but the good teams will.
But you're guaranteed to lose a game. 8 more games in your league, guaranteed, if you go to 9 games.
Yeah.
And so that's that part. So I get it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're at 12 or 16, whatever model they end up going to, there's going to be 6 at-larges, any way you look at it. So are you a top 10 team? That's the question. Are you a top 10 team nationally? That's what it's going to take to make the playoffs. Any way you shake it out, whether you go to 16 teams or you go to 12 teams, are you a top 10 team? That's what's going to get you in. So are you a top 10 team at 9-3? Or 10? You're guaranteed to be a top 10 team at 10-2.
Yeah.
If you're at 9-3, depends on who you lost to.
Right.
Let's take
and where you lost.
Yeah. Let's take Ole Miss for example.
Okay.
Let's say they were 9-3.
Okay.
But they're 3. They lose a close game to Alabama, a close game to LSU, and a close game to Georgia.
Okay.
Are they a top 10 team? If that was
probably super close.
I think they would be.
Okay.
Considering, let's say those other 3 teams were good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, it's the same year. All right, we've gone to 9 games.
Okay.
And they lose a 15-point game to Alabama, a 21-point game to Georgia, and they beat LSU. They beat Texas A&M. They beat everybody. And they go lose by 6 points at home against Vanderbilt. Are they going to be a top 10 team?
Of course not.
So you're bringing in that extra risk. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
it does. It does.
I get what they're trying to get to, and I understand that. But no coach, I hate that they're putting on like, I saw like everybody's, I guess it's slow media day, but everybody's, Nick wanted 9 games, now he wants 8. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't. People think it does. It has zero impact.
From a league standpoint, sure, I agree.
But that's on that. All right. Then everybody wanted to talk about the portal and tampering. Interesting thing, and I got 2 good views out of it. There's some good points. Lane made a really good point I hadn't really thought about. I guess I have thought about it, but I hadn't thought about it in a while. But most, if not every single coach, when it comes to the portal, wants the windows to be cut down.
Yes. This was one of the things that happened today. I think it was today. Saban did radio. Maybe it was yesterday. He did radio, and he said they went and they –
I got it. You talking about the work stuff?
Yeah. He said that they sat down and figured out how many weeks of the year did they work 7 days a week.
I want to talk about this, yeah.
This drives me crazy with people. It drives me nuts with people. I'm always surprised at how cold people are, how little not even sympathy, empathy, nothing. People view, well, you make a lot of money. I don't really give a shit how much you work. Okay, well, but you should. And if you truly want people to function at the highest level, they're not working 7 days a week, 44 weeks out of the year. They're taking. There's some time. Just read a spot for BetterHelp, and I'm a big believer in mental therapy and stuff. I am. You and I talked about this, like this summer, even though I'm not going anywhere, I'm going to take a week or 2 at some point and do something I didn't used to do. Years ago, I just grinded. I'd go to vacations, quote vacation. We'd go to the beach, and I'd podcast from the beach. Stupid. Went on a trip to California. I was so worried that I might take a day off that I would get up at 5 a.m. in California, go downstairs into the lobby of the hotel where we were staying in San Francisco or Los Angeles or whatever, and podcast. How stupid was that?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I mean, that's how you burn yourself out. Well, he was talking about how with the new portal stuff and all the rules or lack of rules, the portal windows are open, that they basically 44 weeks out of the year work 7 days a week. Well, what doesn't get said is in the other 8 weeks of the year, they're working 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not healthy. And yeah, for sure. I get it. Hey, he makes $9 million a year. Don't ask me to feel sorry for him. Okay, fine. Here's the thing. The people at the bottom of the chain that are trying to work their way up, they're not making $9 million.
No.
They're not making anything resembling.
There's one guy in there the coordinators and the head coach are making like life-changing money.
And so what you're doing to these young people in the field is you're burning them out. And some of them are going to leave. They're going to quit. They're going to go do other things. And you're going to lose good young coaches who one day, because this is the way Father Time works, and it doesn't appear to affect Saban because I think he's going to live to be 206. But people, the older people pass on and retire. And you want quality young people working with, and listen, the job of a coach is even harder than it's ever been right now. It's harder than it's ever been because you're managing. You're essentially a general manager on top of being a coach. You're managing salary. You've got to manage the portal. You've got to recruit your own players all the time while you're tampering with other people's players. Yeah, they need to shrink the windows. They need to do a lot of things. They need to do some things that allow these people to be normal human beings.
Here's my only thing when it talks about, when you get in the job that you're making sacrifices, right? I mean, you know that.
Sure.
But you shouldn't have to sacrifice having a family.
Right.
To me, that's where it draws the line. You shouldn't have to sacrifice. Now, he said, and that's what I was wanting to talk about. I guess he said in a Sirius XM radio interview that they tracked it last year. They worked 44 weeks. They worked 7 days a week. And I've told you privately about when I was at I can still tell you what the normal. I knew my schedule. You know, if you we would come the last when it came to the second week or third week in July when our second camp window opened. We basically worked from that point on all the way to February signing day, the first Wednesday in February. We worked every single day.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the third week of July to the first Wednesday in February. We worked every single day.
Yep.
The only off day that you were truly off, now this was when I was there, and that changes every year too, but the only day that we were off when I was at Alabama was Christmas Eve. We actually practiced on the 23rd, 2 days before Christmas was a normal, like a Thursday kind of practice deal where we practiced and then started at 2:00. And when practice, we got out of there about 6 after practice, 6:30. I got home on the 23rd, sent the kids home, and we came back in and watched film Christmas morning.
Yeah.
We opened up presents, and about 10:00, my ass was back at the office.
Yeah.
All right. And then we brought the kids back Christmas night, practiced on the 26th morning, 26th, got on a plane and went to New Orleans for the playoff or Sugar Bowl, whatever it was. All right. After signing day, we got off. So the first Wednesday of February, we got off the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He gave us off. And then it was back to the grind. And we worked 7 days a week because of visits and things like that, unofficial visits. We worked, and we may have had a Sunday or two off in March, I think. But then we got back to spring practice and everything. You're back going again. And we got spring break off there. Now, the cool thing, and then the summertime, dead period summertime, so when camp is over with, that was the great thing. Back then, it used to be basically June 15th to July 15th. When the cool thing about Alabama, which I really loved about our time off there, is when we were off, we were off. When we left that building, Nick Saban called me twice in 2 years. He called me twice what I call out of office, out of hours. And one time he called me because he couldn't find his recruiting board in his notebook. Couldn't find his recruiting board, thought he left it. And I was like, Coach, it's in the front of the notebook. He's like, okay. He didn't know it was a pocket up there. So, and that was at like 9:00 and some night. And then he called me on vacation. I was at the beach in Charleston. He called me, asked me if we wanted to take this because he had talked to the kid. Kid wants to commit if we wanted to take him or not. Those are the only two conversations I had with Nick Saban after hours.
Yeah.
Now, working with Hugh's totally different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
A lot of off time with Hugh. Okay. Go out, spend time with your family. But here was the trick with Hugh is you're never off with Hugh.
Because he's calling.
He called me twice a day.
Yeah.
when we were not in the office.
Yeah.
I mean, at all times of the night too. He'd text me about some random, like he always loved it. He knew how to get under my skin a little bit. Like there'd be some random kid in my recruiting area get an offer by whoever. He'd be like, hey, what do you know about Neal McCready? I'm like, know your state, know your area. I mean, he'd be on my ass about, some random kid, but just random times of the night, all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, just everybody's different, but ironically, that's the one cool thing I liked about Alabama is when you were off, dude, you were off.
Yeah, you could count on it.
You could count on it. He wasn't going to bother you. But, that was interesting. You got any bills need to pay for you?
Walk-On Sports Bistro puts everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine like po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers and fresh salads, all in front of 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. Let Walk-Ons take care of your tailgating needs this season. Inquire today about their family and friends bundles, their tailgate platters. You can order online at walkons.com. or on their convenient Walk-Ons app, especially if you're in Oxford or Jackson, Mississippi. Visit the Walk-Ons in Oxford or Ridgeland today. And we're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. It's going to start getting hot outside here pretty soon, really quick. I think temperatures in the 90s next week.
It's here, boys.
So you want to make sure that AC is ready to roll, ready to handle the workload. Get in touch with the people at Comer and Southern. It's different names, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, get in touch with our friends at Comer Heating and Air at 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, South Haven, Olive Branch, those areas, get in touch with our friends at Southern Air Conditioning and Heating at 662-429-4429.
See some comments in the thread about working and stuff like that. I've also been with coaches that go off and do their own vacations and don't tell anybody, but expect you to work.
Yeah.
So I just saw some comments in the thread.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had some experience with coaches like that. They just go off and go fishing or go travel with people and have a good time and all that stuff, and then expect you to stay and do all the work. And then when they come back, get in front of the podium and smile. So I've worked with coaches like that too.
Whoever could you be speaking of?
I don't know. Figure it out. All right. How about this? I was joking with you. Our good friend Hugh Freeze has been listening to the podcast. There's no way he can tell me he hasn't been listening to the podcast.
You think he's listening? Or do you think he's watching the live stream right now?
He's not watching live stream. He's probably he's probably playing golf right now. He's watched it at some point in time. So they asked him about tampering, and he literally almost quoted our podcast, what I said about the transfer portal podcast.
Yeah,
and I'm very passionate about. He obviously agrees with me verbatim, but I'm very passionate about it. If they want to fix all this shit, all they got to do is go back to the old transfer rule. We covered that to nauseum, and he agrees. He said the same thing to the media that your free agency is when you transfer, when you graduate, or if a coach leaves, which is what we said on the podcast.
Are you surprised he would say that publicly? Even though, I mean, I know a lot of coaches agree with you, but a lot of coaches are a little afraid to say it because that is not a super popular stance with the kids that you're recruiting.
I am not surprised. Let me tell you one thing I've really liked about Hugh, and then since really he's been doing it since he's Liberty, he just didn't get the same amount of coverage, media coverage. Hugh's being very, very open with media and transparent in his thoughts. He's not being guarded about things, and you pretty much can ask him anything, he's going to answer it. And I think it's going to lead to some interesting press conferences, I think, moving forward. But he's just telling you what he thinks. In the past, he would have probably never answered that question. But I give him credit. He's answering questions and telling you what he thinks. A lot of coaches are scared to do that, and I think he's reached the he's not going to cuss, but he's reached the I don't give a damn part because he's made plenty of money, and he's reached that part where he'll tell you, which I think is which is fun. But
yeah, for sure.
But look, I'm not going to get all into it, but I'm adamant about it. The more time goes on, I'm more adamant about it. I'm digging my heels in on this one. If it would fix everything, and we're out here trying to get all these rules changed, and we're worried about all this stuff. We're legislation, and we're trying to fix this. And we're worried about tampering. We're worried about this. We're worried about that. It'll all be fixed one rule. One rule fixes everything. Fixes NIL, because what would happen is everybody would go back to a uniform model. Hey, our guys get X amount of dollars here.
Yeah.
That's what would happen. It would fix collectives. If you're having a tough time raising funds, it would bring all this stuff back into balance. There would be no tampering. And look, if you want, and it's not I hear this a lot. I hear, oh, well, they can't do that. That's one thing you can put back in the tube. There's been rule changes 1,000, because this is not a federal rule.
Agreed. I'm totally with you. This is the one thing
that
you
they
can
put back in the
you
tube.
can do it. I don't know that they have the stomach to do it because they're going to get beat up publicly when they do it. And there is this thing, and it's societal now. It is just so frightening to say something that's unpopular.
Yeah, no, 100%. But like,
I mean, it clearly doesn't bother you.
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't bother me.
I'm being dead
but
serious.
It bothers a lot of people.
I really, whenever this thing comes up, because it'll probably be Nick that does it when he gets ready to retire, which I don't know if he ever will. But if he ever takes up the first time there's a college football commissioner, and I think it's coming sooner rather than later.
Okay.
I'm going to do everything I can to get on the rules committee there.
Is there any chance that you've already worked for that guy before?
There is a chance. Probably a really strong chance. I'm going to do everything I can. And the first thing, day one, it's like,
it was funny, not to get on this topic. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
oh, you're good.
I listened to Saban this week, and other people were trying to analyze it. Like, is he kind of getting tired of it? Is he getting? I almost wondered whether he's not that he's not 100% dialed into his job at Alabama, because he is
200%.
But he's one of those few people that when you tell me, hey, well, I gave it 110%. Most people don't have 110%. He probably does have an extra 10%. And I kind of wonder if his extra 10% is thinking about, you know what? I've been doing this a long time. I think I could fix it. His answers felt really big picture to me.
He's always been like that, though.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. He was just
now, maybe some of them are public and some aren't.
He was just more that way this time.
Talking to him in private, he's always been like that. Does that make sense? Like everything he does is big picture. Like that's how he thinks. And I'm going to be honest with you. One of the biggest lessons I got from working with a guy was to learn how to think and make decisions. And everybody's like, well, huh? And he was very big on, he always would say this. I think this is very cool for any person out there. You hear the word consequence. This is something he said that stuck with me. You hear the word consequence and you immediately think something bad.
Right. Negative.
Consequences can be good and bad.
Right.
So when you go to make a decision, you have to think about what the consequences, good or bad, of that decision. Okay. And then take those consequences and figure out what to do from there and think down the road.
Right.
Don't think he always, he loved the saying, you can't see the forest because the trees are in the way. Always think ahead about, okay, this is going to cause this to happen. When this happens, what are the problems going to be from that? And learning how to think like that has helped me immensely as an adult. I mean, as a human being, much less a football coach, but as a human being, learning how to think like that and process information like that. It's one of the best lessons I got from working at the place. And, but he's always been a big picture guy. I think he would be great at it. Now, do I think he's shutting it down anytime soon? I'll go ahead and tell y'all no.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
No. I don't, and I don't think he's the guy that's going to think about it. I think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be, well, maybe this year if I do that. No, I don't think he doesn't think like that. I think it's just going to be one day he's going to wake up and be like, that's it. I don't think it's going to be a gradual onset.
Right.
I don't think that.
You don't think he has a year where it's the retirement tour?
Well, I was of the understanding that year was already coming past.
I'm confused.
I had a number, and that number has come and passed.
Okay.
And so no, I don't know, because he is, people just don't. I mean, that's what he does, man. And he's always said when he feels that he is no longer a asset to the team, that's when he'll shut it down. Well, he ain't close to that yet. So, and that's what he does. That's what his hobby is. I mean, he enjoys it. I mean, that's his hobby, that and playing golf. But no, Hugh going back. So Hugh said that, and then they asked him about NIL, and then he literally actually quoted our numbers when I was talking about a podcast the other day. I'll just randomly throw out numbers. If it's 25 first year, he literally said word for word. If it's 25 first year, 50 for second year, whatever. But so we got us a fan in Hugh Freeze. He listens to the show. What up, Hugh?
You need to get Hugh to retweet the show. Maybe we're
going to get him on the show.
Maybe we'd get more of an Auburn audience at that point.
We're going to have a kumbaya moment with Neal McCready.
Well, they will lose their minds at Auburn.
He probably needs to win a couple games before. Does he do interviews with them?
No, I don't mean that. I mean just that those people would be unhappy that he spent any time talking to me.
That would be great. We're going to do it. I'll get him to do it. We're going to have a kumbaya moment.
Oh, we're all good. We're good. It's all good.
All right. And the last thing from these meetings, this drives me nuts. Stop asking. Every coach got asked about sports betting. Hey, have the recent deals made you talk to your? I mean, one guy asked Kirby. Kirby's funny.
Yeah.
Kirby's got a little bit of Nick in him, but he let the guy go. Hey, has this caused you to have any more? Heart. He asked, hey, if you had the conversation, have these recent, the Alabama deal and all this stuff. And some guy asked Nick, like, like it was his fault that the baseball coach and the Brandon Miller deal concerns with and Nick wanted to go, hey man, like, are any of these football players? You know, it's not, he doesn't have anything to do with those players. You know what I mean? They were asking the problems with the athletic department. He's like, you know, he can only control, you know, what he can control.
Right.
Has this, you know, this baseball stuff and all these betting scandals forced you to have any more hard talks with your players? No.
No.
Like, betting is hammered with players. They all know. It's like, do you ever teach, like when you have your kids, one of the first things you teach your kids is don't touch the hot stove.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
But guess what happens every fucking day in America?
Somebody touches
Some kid touches the hot stove.
Yeah, sure.
So do you go home and say, hey, Knox, there's a 7-year-old in Seattle touched the hot stove today? No. I mean, you can't hammer it home any more than it's been hammered home. Every team gets talked about it every single year, and they know the consequences. So there's only so much you can do, right?
Yep.
And I'll tell you something. I'm going to take it up for Deion again. I think something he said that I agree with. You're going to start paying these kids like pro athletes. They're going to start getting treated like pro athletes.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
At what point are they still kids? Are you a kid? I'm asking, do you, as a journalist, do you feel like you should treat a kid that's 19 years old, 18 years old, that's making $5 million to play football different than the kid are they still a kid?
Nope. No, I've already, and I've had to talk to myself about this because I've always been, hey man, I'm not gonna rip the kids. I'm not gonna criticize the kids. They're doing the best they can. But now, it's two things. Let's use Ole Miss as an example. It's just an example. This would apply to anywhere. But let's say this year, they brought in 13 so far defensive transfer portal guys. It's a big number, I think. In my world, it's a big number.
That's a big number.
Because if you think about that year over year, that number
probably
gets
more.
That number gets big. Okay, so for the sake of this conversation, before anybody thinks I'm predicting this, this is just a scenario. Let's say that defensively they're not very good. Okay, they give up a ton of yards. They're in the 70s and the 80s in the rankings and in rush defense, pass defense, total defense, scoring defense, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I can't help it. Critics go, hey, y'all did some really crappy evaluations, and these players aren't any good. And you got to write that the players aren't good, and that you overpaid for this player. If you know generally that you're paying X 100,000 or whatever for a defense, and then it doesn't work, yeah, sure, it's a criticism now. It's a totally different deal. If Quinshon Judkins fumbles, and he won't because I think he had one fumble last year.
He's good.
Let's say he fumbles 3 times in a game. I mean, I think an $800,000 player can't fumble the ball three times in a game. I think there's a different deal in the same way that
but it won't happen though.
Well, in the same way, I'll give you an example. No, because the people that do it will get crucified.
Yep.
But I would circle back and go, well, if I'm covering the Chicago Cubs right now, okay, let's say I'm a Cubs beat writer. The Cubs gave Jameson Taillon $65 million over 3 years, and right now he's got an 8 ERA. Well, the contract is an albatross. It's totally different than if you bring up a kid from AAA and he's not quite getting it done yet. You're like, well, yeah, he's a rookie, so he's making rookie money. But if you sign, Carlos Correa talked about this the other day in Minnesota. He got off to a bad start. He's making a massive contract, and he admitted that, hey, I make too much money to suck like this. If Dansby Swanson were sucking and he's not, but let's say he were, you'd be like, hey, you paid $177 million for this? That was always the Jason Hayward thing in Chicago. It's not just that you suck, it's you can't hit, it's that you're getting paid the largest contract in franchise history. So, yeah, if you're bringing in quarterbacks, bringing in Spencer Sanders, for example, or whoever, the kid at Auburn that they got from
Thorne.
Wherever. I mean, you're bringing those guys in. If they don't perform, well, you paid for this. He's not just getting a scholarship anymore. No, he's not. I mean, if people go, well, there was always black market money. The black market money was never like this. It was never like this. There was nobody making the kind of money some of these kids are making. It never happened. It just didn't. And I'm happy for the kids. But yes, does it change the way that we should talk about them and treat them? And you can't have the coaches, and it's not. I'm always careful here because I don't want people to think I'm picking on Lane. Because Lane's not the only coach that says this. We're professional sports. All right, well then maybe we should cover you like professional sports. Maybe we should. And then on the flip side, see, this is where it's hard for me. Like tomorrow, Ole Miss is having a Friday Night Lights thing. They're having, I'm sure, Florida's probably having some Gator barbecue or whatever the hell, right? And those kids show up, and they're my son's age. They're literally a year older than, I mean, they'll have kids in there that are 2025 kids. So this is where it hits home for me. I have a 2025 kid in my house.
Yeah.
And you've met him. He's a mature kid.
Good kid.
He's a really nice kid. He's a smart kid.
Thank God for Laura.
Amen. No doubt. But he's not ready. He's not ready to make. Like if you put that kind of money in his hands right now, come on.
Yeah.
He's not nowhere close to prepared for that. Now, if someone would like to, please do. We'll figure it out. But you understand what I'm getting at? I can't treat those age kids like they're pros. They're not. They're just babies, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the part of, I guess what I'm getting at is like, it's more, you can't, like if you're going to get paid, and I think what Deion was referring to is like, if you're getting paid that money, then you have certain expectations you have to meet. And I'm talking about from a hey, if you got your sore today, well, you got to go. We're paying you to go. It's kind of like professional athletes. You know, when you're not just dinged up and we can sit you. You got to go. If you're going to get paid, you got to play.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some of that going on.
There's for sure.
And that's not good. But
no, it's not good.
But
it's
going to happen.
It is what it is. Yeah. So there's a lot of the landscape changes in so many different ways, and there's a lot of guys, and frankly, it's the younger guys in my field that are just because they're not accountable. They don't have to go see them in person. They don't show up. They kind of hide behind blogs and videos and stuff. They're going to destroy people.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to destroy
You
them.
can tell, like, the national media as opposed to beat writers. The tone is already changing. And you could tell some of the questions being asked in the SEC, I guess the SEC meetings, the national guys were asking hard, questions. And the beat writers are still kind of trying to figure it out. But going back to the betting stuff, and I want to make this point before we get out of here. The problem with the betting stuff is once things are legal in some places and then they're not legal in your area, you can't control those things.
Right.
Now, we're talking about betting because it's a hot topic and we can control this. You know what? Something nobody ever talks about? Go talk to a staff that works that has a school in a state that where marijuana is legal.
Oh.
But nobody's want to talk about that. You know it is. You still have drug tests and shit, right?
Right.
Go talk to a staffer on a team who's located where you can go to the local store and just get all the freaking weed you want. But now we got to go test you every, however often your deal is. Go check your school policies.
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when the NCAA was it nanograms what they measured in? You had a positive test I think it was over 5. Okay. That's when it, like a long time ago. It was if you test, dude, you're freaking done. I'm talking about not that long ago, like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
If you had over 5, your ass was off the team. Then they came in with APR, and then you started giving guys second, third chances. You started changing your policies because it became more culturally accepted, all that stuff. Well, now they went from that to like 30. Okay. And then recently, last year, we talked about on the show last summer, they changed it to like 150 nanograms. Like, long as you're not a habitual user, if you're just a recreational user, if you go out and you could smoke weed yesterday and come in and test today, and you're probably under 150. That's high.
Yeah.
Like, The NCAA made the level so high that you basically can't. You got to be a complete, like, you have to be smoking weed 5 minutes before you walked in the test to fail it now. It's so high.
And it still happens.
It still happens. Like, ask me how I know about those nanograms. But like, you're sitting there now, you get kids that are habitual users, and they'll stay in their, it takes a longer time for the body to get rid of the, I guess it's THC or whatever the active drug is. I've gotten very experienced in the old, because I was a part of a staff that took over a program that had a lot of failed drug tests when we got here.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Like a lot.
The 2011 Ole Miss team was hot.
I wasn't here.
If
I wasn't here in 2011.
If you write the story of 2011 Ole Miss, the title of the book could just be High.
I wasn't here in 2011. I don't know what happened, but I was a part of a staff that took over a place that we drug tested the entire remaining team that was there when we got there, and about 75% failed drug test.
Grind says earlier today we talked about state law.
Yeah,
overriding NCAA private reg. I don't know. I don't know how that works as it pertains to drug testing. I have no idea.
No, it's school drug testing. Grind is they've gone to this probably. So you have NCAA drug test. Okay, the NCAA will come in and drug test you. They do it before every bowl game. All right, and then but you have school policy. So a school drug test is different than the NCAA. When the NCAA comes and drug tests you, if you fail a drug test, they more test for performance enhancing drugs, those kind of things, hardcore street drugs. But it's really a performance enhancing thing from NCAA wide. And if you pop on an NCAA drug test, it's 365 days from the day you fail it. And then again, it's for performance enhancing. Your school drug test, it's by school policy. So your school can do whatever policy they want to do. Some are more strict than others. Most of them have gone very lax on that. Now, where okay, if you fail a drug test, we notify your parents the first time and put you in counseling and then send you to rehab and things like that. I've seen it go a long way, but it's not as the way they've changed the levels. Again, you would already know the kid has a problem before you ever get to the drug test. But it's random. And as a coach, I can honestly look at you dead in the face and say, when the trainer walked up at the end of practice, NCAA, and it's random, I can honestly look you dead in the face and tell you that I was praying some kids didn't get their name drawn because I was like, that's it. It's a wrap.
Because he just went through a practice that way.
Well, no, I've never coached a kid that was high at practice.
Okay.
I've never done that.
Okay.
I mean, ever. If you have, I bless you. But anyway.
Anything else before we head out?
Yeah, I got a couple things.
All right.
Just funny stuff I had to talk about. So today, the Memorial Golf Tournament, PGA, I know you're dialed in. So I thought this was kind of, and I hope he's fine. But Dylan Fratelli is a golfer, and he is a averages grits golfer. Okay, but it's the Memorials, invitational only, big money. My man was 15 over after 14 holes.
I'd be celebrating.
And he withdrew due to illness.
Yeah.
He called it illness.
Yeah.
Why did he withdraw at the 15th hole? Because he teed off on the 15th hole, hit the shit out of bounds, and the 15th hole was next to the clubhouse. So he's like, that's it, boys.
I'm out.
So he shot the deuce, and it pissed off a lot of these fantasy owners because they don't get points,
Yeah.
So a lot of people are pissed off about him. But and then the last thing, I know you're not a NASCAR guy, but I thought this is actually kind of interesting. So Sunday they had the big race. It actually happened Monday in Charlotte, the Coca-Cola 600, longest NASCAR race of the year. Chase Elliott, who's the most popular driver in NASCAR, just completely dumps Denny Hamlin. I mean, just wrecked him on purpose.
Okay.
And Denny Hamlin gets out, and he's a vet, and these are two vets. And Denny's pissed, and legitly pissed, and has a reason to be pissed, and just goes overboard, demanding. He's a superstar. So NASCAR is a sport where they will listen to their superstars. And so he actually is a part race owner with 2311 with Michael Jordan. And Bubba Wallace got suspended for a race early in the year for aggressive driving and retaliation and being stupid. And he's like, hey, my driver gets suspended early in the year. He should be suspended. And I was like, yeah, they're not going to do that because it's Chase Elliott and they'll figure it out. He goes they're in Charlotte, right? So he's able to go back to the headquarters and they have data for everything in NASCAR now. It's kind of like TrackMan for golf.
Mm-hmm.
They can get on there and see, hey, where was I getting beat? You can see where other drivers are hitting their gas, how much they're turning the wheel. I mean, just all kinds of data. He screenshots the data where it showed that Chase Elliott turned his wheel harder when he hit him than he did in any turn, 4 times harder than he did at any turn that track. So he did it on purpose and puts it out on social media, turns off his comments. Oof. And so NASCAR had to suspend Chase Elliott for one race. He's out for this week. So
he's not going to be very popular with the rest of the guys.
Let me tell you what snitches get.
Stitches.
Snitches get stitches. Yep. And then if you don't think his ass is getting dumped unintentionally sometime between now and the end of the year, if you bet on Denny Hamlin, it's going to happen. At some point in time, there's going to be a big moment.
Someone's going to take him out.
And it may be Chase Elliott. And hey, where I just accidentally just run into you, because they don't have to try very hard in those cars to wreck you.
Right.
Like they can do some things.
They're spending a lot of energy trying not to wreck people.
Yeah. And it doesn't take anything but just
whoops.
Yeah, just tapping you in the left rear going in a turn. Whoops, sorry. Like it doesn't have to be intentional.
Right.
That you can't prove it. His ass is going to get dumped. So it's going to be funny.
All right, we'll be back on Monday. We got a special guest joining us on Monday.
Yeah, barring anything happening, I guess I'm not going to say who it is, but barring any changes, we're going to have a really good guest on Monday. You need to tell everybody to tune in. The most excited I have been on a guest so far, so we'll get him on. I'm excited. It's something that's going to be. I think all of the people who listen to our show will be very excited for. So make sure you're tuning in on Monday.
So for Tyler, I'm Neal again. We're brought to you by Reign Total Body Fuel. 300 milligrams, natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Reign Body Fuel to learn more. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us on the stream. Thanks for listening to us on wherever you listened to podcast, and we will talk to you on Monday.